Welcome to the Sharpe Show. Yes, it is 7 p.m. on the East Coast, and I am here yet again Monday evening. Thank you for giving me a chunk of your evening. And it's an AMA, so I will, of course, take any question that you would like, but I'm going to ask something in return. Yes, it's not free. Got to do something for me. Either like or comment or share. It is important to hit that like button. It does matter. Please do it. Whatever the button is, click one of them. I don't care which one. Get those algorithms going. It does matter. It is important. Please do it. Otherwise, I don't get shared. I get cut back by Facebook and YouTube and all the interwebs. So hook me up with that if you would. I do appreciate it. So, as always, I wanted to bring a topic up to kind of start the flow of the conversation. And it was a part of me that didn't want to bring this up at all. My team was like, you got to bring up Joe Rogan. Everyone's talking about Joe Rogan. And I was like, do I really want to go there? You know that often I don't want to go down the same pattern that everyone else is going down. I try to sometimes not do that. My team usually pushes me to go down those roads. And I usually do. Like if my team pushes me, I usually say yes, because they're usually right. That's why I have them. My team is usually correct. So generally speaking, when they start giving me a couple of nudges, I tend to do it. Not always, but I tend to do it. So I thought maybe I will. So I did a little bit of looking if I came up with this Joe Rogan thing. And I saw a CNN clip. And the CNN clip made me angry. Yeah, I know. CNN make me angry. Surprise. So yeah, I didn't like it at all. It bothered me tremendously. There are many things about, so I decided to do it. From that CNN clip, I was like, I'm done. I'm doing it. And I'll show you the clip in a second. But I do want to keep going here. There's a couple things about the Joe Rogan events, I guess you want to call them, crisis, I don't know what word you want to use, that is really important. And some that aren't as important, but it is important. You might go, Larry, why does it matter? I mean, he's some podcast guy, right? And he'll be fine, right? He's not gonna go be poor. And you're right, Joe Rogan's not gonna be selling pencils on the street. That's not gonna happen. He's gonna be financially fine, regardless of whatever Spotify does or whoever does whatever. Joe Rogan is going to be financially fine. That's true. But that isn't the point. The point is, Joe Rogan did what he thought was right. Now, he may have been wrong, but I'm just saying he did what he thought was right, whatever that thing is. And what he got for an apology was punished by Spotify. Wasn't a massive punishment, but it was a little bit of, taking down some of his videos. People say he decided, people say he didn't decide. I don't know who decided, but whether he decided or not, Spotify clearly had something to say about it. But however that worked out. But that was a form of punishment and a form of acquiescing and saying, look, let me meet you part way. And Spotify said, we'll do something. We'll put labels on, right? We'll take some stuff down and we'll put labels on, right? And the average person looking at that would say, well, look at that. Spotify's doing something nice, right? Labeling stuff, taking some stuff down. That's a good thing. If you remember what I said that was a terrible idea. I said it was a terrible idea. I said, give them nothing. Nothing. Give them nothing. Not one single thing. And the reason why is the victims aren't the ones who are actually upset. And that's the piece that always bothers me. Is there an actual victim? Is there some victim who can say, Joe Rogan, Spotify, what you did hurt me? Are there victims who are saying this? If there are, you should apologize to the victims. Of course you should. But these aren't victims. They're not the ones who were mad. It was the justice people who were mad about whatever. It was those people, whoever the groups of people who want to make money and punish Joe Rogan. But who actually was mad was the establishment. How do I know that? I'll show you the CNN piece. You'll know. The establishment was mad. The establishment can go take a hike. I don't care if they're mad. Goodbye. I care if I hurt someone. If I said or did something that hurt you or individuals, I should say, wow, I should have said that. I'm sorry for that thing. But when you try to acquiesce to the establishment or the mob or whatever, insert group here, justice group, whatever that justice group is, they will take it as weakness and keep pushing. And they did. And I'll give you an example that's not popular like Joe Rogan. Here in New York State, the vaping industry. Now, those of you know that I support the vaping industry. I always have. I still do. Not because I vape. I don't smoke. But they're their own industry. They're local. They're entrepreneurial. And if you want to vape. No one's forcing you. Don't vape. I mean, do you? If you want to vape, please go. You can smoke. Why can't you vape? Right? Whatever. I mean, they're not the same, but whatever. You can do something that people think is bad. You can eat fast food every day if you want to. You can eat McDonald's every day. You shouldn't, but you can. You can eat McDonald's 3 times a day if you want to, every day. You shouldn't, but you can. So go on with your bad self if you want to. And you should be able to vape. I told the vaping industry, don't give in to anything. Nothing. Don't try to allow the vaping industry was trying to be very savvy and smart and said, look, well, let me try to negotiate with you like the tobacco industry did. But you're not big enough to do that. And I said, give in nothing. Fight on everything. I told them, fight on 18 years or 21 years old. Fight to make it 17, like fight. They didn't want to hear it. They thought I was wrong. Now vaping's basically gone in New York State. You gave a little. They devastated you. It's happening now. It wasn't like it was victims of vapors who were going after vapors. That wasn't happening. It was people who just wanted to get them to have social justice points. And they won. Same with Rogan. There aren't victims coming after him going, you said this thing, and now... No. And then they threw up, right after that, if you didn't notice, they came after him again with the N-word videos. Now, what bothers me about that is if there was damage from what he said, these are from tapes like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 years ago, right? If there was damage from that, and maybe there was. Now, I don't know if what he said hurt or damaged people. I don't know that. But if there was, shouldn't they have come out then? Shouldn't you have those people who can say, you used the N-word and it hurt me in this way, or I was affected in that way. Hey, Joe, you shouldn't have said it. If that happened, Joe should say, I'm sorry. Oh my God, I didn't know that was going to hurt you. But it wasn't from a victim. That's my point again. It was from some justice guy who's going to show how righteous he is and virtue signal. That's who it was from. That individual does not deserve an apology. They weren't hurt. They're not a victim. They're just mad. And if you're just mad, go take a hike. I don't care if you're just mad. Don't watch. I don't like it. Great, don't watch. I say, type of stupid stuff. You don't like it? Don't watch. Please watch. But you don't have to watch. Not required. Please watch. But you don't have to watch. But in this case, if the victim is saying you've hurt, and you guys have seen me when I've said things that have hurt individuals. If I hurt somebody, I don't want to hurt them. I say, I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm sorry. I do say that. But if people go, Larry, somebody somewhere might be upset. Then tell me. Then say something. Act accordingly. That's all I'm saying. And I think it's come to pass again and again and again. And you might go, but Larry, the N-word's bad. You're right. It is. As someone who's been called it to their face and online much more times, you're right. At the same time, and this is the nuance that I want us to get to. Nuance is critically important in everything we say and do. And intent and impact are two separate things, and they both matter. If you say something that hurts someone, but you weren't trying to hurt them, that is different than if you say something and it hurt them and you were trying to hurt them. Both are bad. The impact is still bad. Someone is hurt. But your intent matters. Were you trying to hurt someone? Or were you ignorant or made a mistake or thought it was okay or whatever the case may be? An example I'll bring up is kind of an odd one. But if someone were to use a scientific method and start talking about something and bring up bad words and use them in a conversation, that might make people feel awkward. It might hurt people. But is the intent to hurt or is the intent to understand? If the intent's to understand, we should have a conversation, because the intent's to understand. Let's have a conversation on why that doesn't work, on why that's not a good thing. Can we do that? Versus you're an evil person because you said the word. I don't know Joe Rogan very well at all. Met him once. Seemed like a nice guy when I met him. Seemed nice, but we're not buddies. You can be buddies. You can be my buddy, Joe. I'm here if you want to be my buddy. We're not buddies. Met him once. Seemed like a nice guy. Didn't seem any awkward, mean, nothing. Seemed like a regular guy, about my age. All seemed fine. Do I think that he was purposely trying to hurt? No. And let me show you the CNN piece that bothered me, and you'll see what I'm talking about. CNN thought this was important to talk about. And this is the next piece. After this, I'll cover the next piece that bothers me about this piece. CNN thought they should do a segment on this. And here is their segment.
Joe Rogan is now apologizing after videos resurfaced of him using the N-word multiple times on his podcast, Patriot Takes, which put the video together as an organization that aims to expose extremism on the far right. The video is an edited.
The group who put it together, he said his words. I want to make sure his words. It resurfaced. It didn't resurface. It never surfaced in the first place, and it was purposely put out by a group. So his word acts like, well, just now came out. No. This was a hit piece. And that's okay. It can be a hit piece. But say it was a hit piece. He doesn't say that. It's like, well, it just comes out because I guess Joe Rogan's so evil. It just comes out. Terrible. Second, he says, group that tries to, call out far-right extremism. If you honestly believe that Joe Rogan is far-right extremism, you have a problem in yourself. And I mean that seriously. If you believe that that is far-right extremism, if you believe that, you have a problem. And I mean it seriously. That's not far-right extremism. Even if you think what he said was racist or right, whatever, far-right extremism, I have seen and heard and dealt with, that's not it. That might be some guy who leans right. He doesn't, he actually leans left. But in theory, maybe he leans right. Possible. In fact, the left is pushing him right. So I'm sure by next year he will be right because he's being attacked by the left and the right will embrace him. Rumble already offered him a bunch of cash. So he'll be right by next year and the left will have pushed him to the right. So by next year, he's going to be on the right. And that's the left's fault for doing that. But now he isn't. And he for sure isn't far right. If you believe that, I ask you, what are you going to do when the fascists come? What are you going to do when the real fascists come? If you think Joe Rogan is the far right extremist, when the fascists come, just go to the camp. Just walk to the camp yourself. If you think he's far right, you cannot handle the fascists when they show up. Because when they show up, you're finished. Just walk to the camp yourself. Because that's where you're going. I'm going to fight the right. That's not fighting the right.
Compilation of different podcast episodes. And we have to warn you, this is very disturbing to hear.
Hold on. Listen to what he says. And we have to warn you. Oh, this is very disturbing to hear. You see this? Oh my God, this is, just hold on to clutch your pearls. Here it comes.
The thing.
Yeah. Saying the word
You've already said is just like
saying
she's calling you like this boy that he's and starts calling them word. There should be a word like especially like the word that's our about he says guy and then starts saying to use the word without the word see word say and he couldn't say else.
All right, now there are two parts when I'm to this. Number one, how the hell is that disturbing? It's a bunch of beeps. The piece of garbage who was the CNN anchor, he should be fired for that. That's disturbing. You hear these beeps. Watch out, Ryan, beeps are coming. You might die because you hear beeps. Number one. Number two, please, in all of those clips, and they picked the ones that they thought were the worst. Of all of the clips, Which of those times did he call someone the N-word? Hold on, go back and think about it. Which one? Yeah, none. Not one time did he use the N-word against someone. Every time. And a guy said, and he said, and they said, and he called him, and he said. He is telling stories of other people. Never did he use it aggressively. Never did he use it against somebody. And never did he call anybody in any of these clips. I mean, maybe he's called someone. Who knows? I don't, again, not his bud, don't know. But never. And this is disturbing. Shut up, disturbing. Again, be very clear. If you listen to this or watch this and you think it's disturbing, you have a problem. How can you handle life if hearing a bunch of beeps as someone tell stories about someone else who said the N-word, if that is disturbing to you, if it is, and maybe it is, you probably shouldn't be watching mainstream TV. You might want to get some help. That should not be disturbing to you. Could it make you angry? Yes. Could it piss you off? Sure, it could. Maybe this bothers you. Yes. But if you got to take your kids out of this, what's wrong with you? This is insane. This is blatantly, openly a smear. Not even close. It is blatantly, openly a smear. The people on CNN should be, they're not. They should be embarrassed by this. They're not. The people who watch it should be embarrassed that CNN will treat them this way. Many of them are because CNN's ratings are in the toilet. So many people are getting it. Sadly, I have to watch this so that you don't. So this really made me angry because of I prefer MSNBC to CNN. And you might go, wait a minute, Larry. You prefer MSNBC? I do. Why? Because MSNBC isn't as self-righteous as this. I mean, they are, but a different level. MSNBC just basically says, we're the left. Everyone who's the right's evil. We're left. Go to hell, righties. And they're open. They just say it. That's who they are. We're the left. Go away if you don't like us. That's actually better than CNN. CNN pretends that it's above the fray. It pretends that it's not left. And man, I can't stand that. That part really, it's so insulting. MSNBC just slaps you in the face. CNN, kind of dismisses you. I can't stand it. It drives me crazy. But it's still mainstream. I still say CNN 2 to 3 years from now is a documentary channel. It can't survive doing this. This is garbage. Just if you want to watch the left, watch MSNBC. They're open about it at least. They don't pretend. There's no pretending. Oh my God. Sorry. Okay. Now the rest of the garbage you said.
Just unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Did you hear that? Look at her face. Unbelievable. This guy's clearly a Klan member. Have you met Klan members? I have. I actually served with some in the Marine Corps. Yes. And those of you who know me from my Marine Corps days know what I'm talking about. I've served with Klan members. I know what Klan members are like. I've met them. Joe Rogan is no Klan member. That I'm sure of. That part I'm 100% sure of. So stop acting like he is. This idea that it's just so, oh my God, shut up. I'm sorry. He has to apologize for that. When would CNN apologize for getting us into war in the Middle East twice? For my 7,000 dead brothers and sisters. Did you apologize for that? Or the 20 or 30,000 wounded, probably more when you count TBI and PTSD. Did you apologize for that? You didn't call anybody the N-word. It's true. You just ruined the lives of 100,000 Americans. But, you didn't call anybody the N-word. In fact, neither did he. He used the word. He didn't call it that. Now, am I saying it's okay? Look, here's the issue. I supported Whoopi Goldberg, and I support Joe Rogan. I'm clearly not a Whoopi Goldberg fan. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I don't have to be a fan. If you don't like The View, don't watch The View. I don't watch The View. Sadly, I see clips of it every once in a while when they're just so horribly bad. I have to watch some of the clips. But I don't have to watch The View, so I don't. You don't have to watch Joe Rogan, so don't. Neither should be canceled or punished. Punishing Whoopi Goldberg was embarrassing for them too. And punishing Joe Rogan was also embarrassing. And Whoopi shouldn't have said, I'm going to tell you the truth, Whoopi shouldn't have apologized at all. She should not have apologized. She apologized. What was her reward for apology? Embarrassment, punishment, stand in the corner. That was your reward. She said, I'm not apologizing for nothing. Fire me then. And you know what would have happened? She'd done the show someplace else. And they'd have lost her. And they would have paid. They'd have paid her. They would have paid her, and she'd have got a show someplace else. The reason why this is so difficult and so bad is they're making it to a point to where everybody's racist, so nobody's racist. When you link Joe Rogan to far-right extremists, you make everybody a far-right extremist, which means nobody is. And the example I'll give you now is, look at the word racist. If you go back 10 years ago, maybe even 5, but for sure 10 years ago, being called a racist was one of the worst things you could possibly be called. Nobody wanted to be called a racist. Like, oh my God, no. The only people who wanted to be called a racist were the actual racists. They were fine with it, right? If you're literally a racist, you're fine being called it because that's what you are. You're like, thank you. Here's my armband. Here's my hood. Life is good. That's how you think. But it was horrible. Now you see it. I see it. We all see it. We're just waiting to be called racist now. When's my turn? When's my turn? I've already been called a white supremacist, and some of you saw that happen. I've already been called a white supremacist. In case you're listening to this and never seen me before, I'm not white. But that's okay. I've still been called a white supremacist. We're making racist not a word anymore. Like it's losing its power. It's losing its power because of stupidity like this, because of terribleness like this. This is nothing but bad. So a part of me says, who cares? Just distraction. It's distraction. It doesn't matter, right? There are bigger things to worry about in this country, right? We might be going to war. The Fed is doing crazy stuff right now. Our economy is collapsing. Our kids are suffering in school. There's bigger things to worry about. It's true. That's one of the reasons why I kind of didn't want to cover this, because I thought maybe it's distraction. But there's a part of me that says it's a whole lot worse. There's a part of me that says this is a critical battle, because I see it in what's happening in my own world to me, right? How I get shadow banned, how I get pushed out, how now I suffer because I don't have an outlet for me to run with what I want to run with. I don't have an outlet. If they take down Joe Rogan, who is left? There's my other worry. Who is left? And then the other issue becomes, of course, if they take down Joe Rogan, who's next? Now, of course, people don't just go away. This now reinforces the biggest problem that we have in America today. The biggest problem of all the problems, of every problem you could think of every problem that you could mention. The biggest problem that America has right now is we don't talk to each other. Everything is black and white. And the pun is intended. Everything is black and white. Everything. So Joe Rogan is either a lefty or a righty. That's it. There's nothing in between. He can't mix and match. He can't be part of one or have some views of one or the other. No, you are with us or against us, and that's it. Well, then how can we talk? Why is that so important? Because we can't solve all the other problems if we can't get together to solve all the other problems. Because once there's a problem now, we pick sides. One side says, this is my side. This is the other side. Facts don't matter anymore. It's irrelevant. Facts are irrelevant. My talking head I watch on CNN says Joe Rogan's a racist. I guess Joe Rogan's a racist now. Why? Because he says so. Can I show you evidence that will prove that he's not a racist? No, my talking head said he is. Okay. What can I do? This is a problem. This is a problem.
Let's bring in CNN's chief media correspondent, Brian Stelter. Brian, what is Joe Rogan now saying?
He is now apologizing, and we're going to find out if that's enough for Spotify.
Is that enough for Spotify? Do you get that? Is that enough for Spotify? He is apologizing. Is that enough? He said bad words. Sorry, he mentioned bad words. He didn't say them against others. He talked about them, 8, 9, 10, 11 years ago. I don't know if an apology is enough for him to keep his job.
Has an exclusive distribution deal with him. Jim, this is all coming to light because of the recent controversy about anti-vaccine rhetoric on Rogan's podcast.
Look at him smiling.
Some artists decided to quit the service. One of them, India Ari, pointed out this compilation video, and pointed out that the language Rogan has used around race in the past is just as, or maybe even more problematic than his rhetoric about vaccines.
She's an idiot. She's an idiot. Why does anyone listen to her? She's an artist. Enjoy her art. Enjoy her art. Don't listen to what she has to say. She's an idiot. I hope you're listening. You're an idiot. And you're making things worse. You're hurting. These guys are just hurting for sure. They're just making things worse. For you to say that him using that word is problematic. Dude, go into Harlem any day and you will hear far worse than whatever Joe Rogan ever said. In fact, I shouldn't even say Harlem. Go to any neighborhood in New York City, and I mean any neighborhood, and you will hear far worse than whatever Joe Rogan said. Are you kidding me? He was explaining stuff. When I was listening to teenagers, I have one. When I was listening to teenagers get mad at each other online, do you hear the racist vitriol that comes out of teenagers today? If you have a teenager, you know what I'm talking about. Sexist, racist, misogynistic. They talk like that all day long because they know it hurts. So teenagers who can't control their emotions and want to hurt each other use the most hurtful shit they can possibly imagine. So they are racist, they are misogynistic, they're anti-Semitic, they're anything they can be because they can't control their emotions. They're terrible teens and they're yelling at each other and trying to hurt. And they may not actually be racist. I mean, they might be, but they might not be racist. They might not be misogynistic. They might not be anti-Semitic, but they're going to use all of those words to hurt. And Joe Rogan's the bad guy. Stop. You guys are completely full of shit. You should be embarrassed. You're not, but you should be. And I hope later on, people will look back at you two and just laugh at what a bunch of buffoons you were.
Scenes. We know Rogan's show is known for its fresh and frank and unvarnished conversations. That's why.
Look at how he says that with, whatever stuff. Not like us at CNN. We have important stuff like this.
This fans like the show, but this compilation, this use of the N-word so many times in the past may be too much, even for some of his defenders to bear. But here it is.
No, that's a lie. No.
In Rogan's own words, part of his apology today.
I'm making this video to talk about the most regretful and shameful thing that I've ever had to talk about publicly.
So he comes up and says an apology like this. He doesn't have to. He does. And what's his reward? More punishment.
There's a video that's out that's a compilation of me saying the N-word. It's a video that's made of clips taken out of context of me of 12 years of conversations on my podcast. And it's all smushed together, and it looks horrible, even to me. Now,
he's admitting it looked horrible. It did look horrible. It looks bad, but it's not that bad. It's a bunch of beeps, and he's not insulting anyone. He's not saying it.
I know that to most people, there's no context where a white person is ever allowed to say that word, never mind publicly on a podcast. And
I want to touch this for a little bit here. There's some validity to this. An example I'll give, and if you're listening to this and you're And you are very much a part of whatever your ethnic background is. Like if you're Italian and you're very Italian, if you're Jewish and you're very Jewish, right? If you're black and you're very black, if you're part of your ethnic background, if you're very much a part of it, then you know. If you're Irish and you're very Irish, if you're any of whatever ethnic background you are, you know you have sat in groups within that ethnic group and called each other horrible, horrible names that are stereotypes of that group. But it was with love and jest and joking, and it was fine. In groups can very often use whatever words those in groups want to use. I'm in New York City, a very high Jewish population, a very high gay population, people of the GSM community, very high population. And there are times when I've been around these populations, groups, where I've been the only other, right? And I've heard them say horrible stuff to each other that I would never say. Like, I'm not that group. I'm never saying that, ever. But they do. You might go, well, that's not fair. No, that's life. This part is accurate. If you are part of an in-group, you may often use words of that in-group that may be seen as negative or bad or whatever the case may be. You can do that. It does happen, right? And so he's right. You probably shouldn't. I don't use Jewish slurs. I'm not Jewish. Not using them, right? Now, if you're Jewish, you want to call yourselves, your friends, Jewish slurs. Okay, I don't use gay slurs, right? Sadly, I used to. And I have a history like he does. I came out of the Marine Corps. And I don't mind telling you this. I had some very misogynistic language in my youth. I came out of the Marine Corps. All I knew was 17 years old when I joined. It's my first job. And when I joined the Marine Corps in the 80s, where I was in the ground side. And for those who don't know, there were no women in the ground side in the 80s. I think now there are, but there weren't any in the 80s. It was all males, all men, all young men trying to out macho each other. That's what I grew up in. I had misogynistic language. I'm not happy about that, but it's true. I have changed since then. I've realized I made changes. If someone were to go back, luckily there's no internet in the 80s. If someone would go back and see my language then, they'd have a compilation of me saying horrible things, right? Same thing, same issue. So I get what he's saying. We're the same age. I get it. You grow up a certain way. You have to learn. You have to change. You have to shift. It's how it works. Are you going to punish me for what I said 30 years ago? If you are, shame on you. Shame on you if you would punish me for something I said 10, 20, 30, this 30 years ago now, if 9, 10, 20, 30 years ago, something I said 30 years ago. Shame on you if you would punish me for, if I'm not saying it now, Bob. If I'm still saying it, I should probably be punished. But if I'm not saying it anymore, you should be happy. You should be like, yay. Larry's not saying stupid stuff anymore. Well, he's not saying that stupid stuff anymore. Yeah, good on you, Larry. We should be saying, good on you, Joe. I'm glad you don't use the N-word anymore. It's good, because that part is true, right? Even though I could hear people of an in-group say stuff with each other, I don't get to say that. It's true.
I agree with that now. I haven't said it in years, but
Thank
for
you.
a long time, when I would bring that word up, like if it would come up in conversation, instead of saying the N-word, I would just say the word. I never used it to be racist because I'm not racist. But whenever you're in a situation where you have to say, I'm not racist, you f***ed up.
Which is why you don't ever have to say that. The second you say, I'm not racist, ball game's over. Ball game's over. He's right. Don't bother saying it. Don't bother.
I clearly have f***ed up.
Yes,
Yeah, I mean,
he
Brian
clearly has, Jim.
Yeah, he clearly has. And you and I both know.
Yeah, he clearly has 8 years ago. He clearly has 8 years ago. He was ambushed by somebody who wants to crush him. And the reason why you want to crush him, to be clear, is because he's better than both of you combined. He has more of an audience, and people trust him more than they trust you. That's why he got ambushed. Here's the worst part. If he actually is, and he's not, but if he actually was some far-right extremist guy, if that were true, and some dumb podcaster that you try to make him, if that's true, Why are people picking him over you? By literally 100-fold? Is that right? 100-fold? No, 10-fold. By 10-fold. CNN doesn't even get 1 million viewers a night. Not even 1 million. He gets 11 million a day. They don't get, for one show, they don't get 1 million total. They don't get 1 million for a night. Whole night, prime time. He's 11 million a day. So but he beats you by 10 or 11 or 12-fold. That's what he beats you by. If he's so bad, why are they picking him? If he's so bad, how bad are you? There's the number one piece. If he's so bad, how bad are you that they're picking him over you, and you've been around longer, you got a better name, and you got $1 billion budget. They have their budget's over $1 billion. They have over $1 billion budget, and he's still whipping your ass by any message. Brian, if you said this or one of you losers said this, nobody would care. They would just fire you. That's it. You would just be fired. Nothing else. Apology video nobody cares about. Nobody would care. In fact, if both of you guys got fired tomorrow and 2 new losers were put in, nobody would even notice. Literally. No one would notice. So if both of you losers were fired today and 2 new losers came in, they'd be like, whatever. I got this because I got, whatever, Comcast or Dish or whatever. So I guess I watch these, or I'm in the airport. So I guess I'll watch these losers. That's all. No one cares about you. Joe Rogan is different in that regard. Something happens to him, people care. I think you're jealous.
So that compilation right there, which he has admitted to is authentic, that would be enough to put anybody out of a job. I mean,
why is this idiot right now, another idiot, why is this idiot now saying, oh, you know what? We should keep getting put out of a job. Why is firing good? And why would you think it's good to be fired for something you said 8 to 12 years ago and have apologized publicly twice? Why? Because they'd be fired. Because here's the real issue. They don't bring any actual value. See, they're replaceable. Joe Rogan isn't. Joe Rogan brings value. This goes back to being jealous. And next, you shouldn't want anyone to be fired. You shouldn't want anyone to be fired because it's something they said 8 to 12 years ago. Why would you think that's a good idea? That is a terrible idea, specifically if they apologize publicly twice. Hey, I'm wrong. Should have done it. It was 8 years ago. And what got them was a hit piece. It wasn't like someone got upset and found it. No, some organization trying to hurt him put that video together and then released it. That's an attack. So he got attacked, didn't fight back. Could have. I would have. Didn't fight back. Said, look, you know what? I'm going to say I'm sorry. Does Joe Rogan have to say sorry? No, he doesn't. Doesn't have to. He could have said, oh, you guys go to hell. What would have happened? Nothing. He still has 11 million views. If Spotify gets stupid and decides to get rid of him, Rumble picks him up. Or he goes on his own. He has enough money to go on his own. So he doesn't even have to apologize. And you losers open up your mouth about that. Shame on you.
It seems untenable to have that kind of video surface, that kind of compilation surface.
It didn't surface. It was a hit piece. Stop lying.
And keep one's job.
Because you couldn't. Because you suck. You are replaceable. You are a Muppet. So yes, you can be replaced. Correct. You gone. And no one would even notice. I mean, maybe your wife would notice. Probably not. But maybe your wife might notice. Maybe.
But Brian, there's another video that Patriot Takes put out, which I also want to play. It's a story
of course
Joe Rogan is telling of when he
look at this. Oh, he's telling. It's so horrible. He's
telling. To see what he describes as the planet of the apes. It's awful, but let's just show it and then talk about it.
Just so terrible. Oh, look at my face.
An app, and it says, "Okay, take me to this one." And the guy goes, "Okay." I goes, "Is that in a good neighborhood?" He's like, "Oh yeah." Guy barely speaks English. He takes us there. We get out and we're giggling. Oh, we're gonna see Planet of the Apes. We walk into Planet of the Apes. We walked into Africa, dude. We walked in the door, and there was no white people.
So now he says that. Look, is this worse than the N-word or not? Which one's worse? Because these two guys, they've never said anything racist ever in their life, right? These guys are perfect. Stop.
And Rogan addressed this.
And by the way, he then apologized for this too. Rogan apologized for this. By the way, that clip was 10 years ago, and he was a comedian nowhere near as powerful as he is now, and wasn't on Spotify. And he apologized for it.
In his video as well. What did he have to say about that?
Yes, that's right. You know, these are multiple examples of offensive content on his podcast that he's trying to apologize for at the same time. Here's what he said.
Yes, he apologized. Yes.
I did not, nor would I ever say that black people are apes, but it sure sounded like that. And I immediately afterwards said, that's a racist thing to say. Planet of the Apes wasn't even in Africa. I was just saying there's a lot of black people there.
Okay. At least he admitted it. He said it. They didn't show that part, did they?
I mean,
So
Brian, a lot of this is
he's,
about
again,
money.
trying to diffuse this. Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Trying to diffuse this, Jim, and whether it's going to work is anybody's guess. We've been reaching out to Spotify, asking for comment. Spotify promotes itself as just a platform, you know, where anybody can put up their podcast. But with Rogan, they're paying Rogan tens and tens of millions of dollars, reportedly $100 million for exclusive rights to his content.
Don't you want that? You so jelly. You wish somebody would pay it. These guys both have podcasts on CNN that only like their mom watches and listens to. So they're mad. They wish people would listen to their stuff. I wish I had Joe Rogan's numbers too. The difference is I'm not attacking Joe Rogan. I'm trying to be better. You guys aren't. You're dissing Rogan instead of just trying to be better. The problem is you're untalented hacks. No one wants to listen to you. You suck at what you do. And so you're blaming others. You could just try to be better at what you do, and maybe you'll be as good as Joe. Well, you won't, but maybe you'll be. No, you're going to suck. Okay. Maybe you won't be as bad as you are now. I think that's possible.
Including these old episodes full of him using the N-word. Now,
these old episodes full of him. That's all he does. That's all. It's the N-word review. That's all he does. 12 years and literally thousands of podcasts, thousands of appearances. They found 20. And it's just full. Oh my God. That's all he ever did.
Listeners have noticed that several dozen episodes have been taken down. Apparently, those are the episodes that we've heard the clips from today.
No, it wasn't.
So Spotify might be on a cleanup mission trying to erase some of Rogan's past. But will the company continue to stand by him? That's an open question. We have not heard back from Spotify.
Ooh.
Right. I mean, you know, Joe Rogan can continue to host his podcast. If people want to listen to it, they can. But it doesn't have to be on Spotify. You know.
Oh, okay. So listen to what he just said now. This is a self-report. This is a self-report right here. You know, he can do it if he wants, but you know, doesn't have to do it on Spotify. Okay, but I thought you said he's this racist far alt-righter guy. If he's this horrible racist alt-righter guy, don't you want him off of everything? No, you just want him punished because you're jelly. You just want him punished. That's it. You don't care. You don't care if he hurt anybody. In fact, you can't find a victim. Please find me a victim. Who did he hurt so bad that's crushed by this? Please find me a victim. There's no victim. You're just mad because Joe Rogan is just you. He says stuff we don't like. What about all the lies you made? What about all of yours?
Some of these companies that you know put these types of programs on their platforms, they don't have to put them there, right?
Yeah, and guess what else? Comcast doesn't have to have CNN. Neither does Spectrum. Neither does Dish. And someday they're not gonna. And when they don't have those, you guys are out of a job. Half your revenue comes from subscriptions that no one else is having anymore. So you're right. I agree. Why don't you try going to Spotify? See how long that lasts.
Brian, I mean,
That's the
are they
tension here.
contractually
These big tech
obligated to do
companies-
that?
companies like Spotify, Facebook, Twitter, they present themselves just as platforms, neutral platforms. But actually, Spotify in this case is a media company getting in business to distribute Rogan. They don't have to be in that business. They've chosen it because they want to grow their podcast business. That's a choice they might support and stick with. In fact, the other day, the head of the company said, if we're going to be in the podcast business, we are going to host content that's going to make people upset, that people aren't going to like. So maybe the company's going to stay with that position.
They should.
But this is what it means to actually be a media company and not just some Silicon Valley platform, the way Spotify used to claim.
Yeah, but you don't you act like, oh, they're going to be like us. They've already passed you, my friend. Those things are wrong. I'm going to walk on. I appreciate that. I'm going to grab some comment. I just thought you guys might enjoy that. It bothered me tremendously. I wasn't going to cover this until I saw that. I was like, that's it. I got to say something. It drove me insane. So yes. All right. Joel says, I don't think I can resist making comments. Please go ahead. Yes. Bill says, Larry, you need to get his podcast. I am podcast number 1167. I think that is correct. That was 3.5 years ago. I believe it was October 2018, if not mistaken. So I was on his show when I ran last time. So yes, please enjoy that show. It's great. Maybe someone will put it in the link. Team, if you guys are watching, listening, please put it in the chat if you don't mind. Yes. So, all right. Let's see. Joe says Joe Rogan is the new king of all media. Kind of is, which is why they're mad. Medic Knight says, Larry, do you think the left is only going after Rogan because they can't control him? Yes, I think that's an important piece. The problem is you have to remember something. With so much of the authoritarianism that you've seen recently, most of it out of the left. I mean, the vast majority. There's been some out of the right, but it's been far. I mean, just magnitudes more out of the left than the right recently. They're going to have to pay a price for that. And remember something. When you're wrong, but you have to act like you're right, you need social proof to validate your bad behavior. So everyone has to be on board saying, see, yes, see, yes, see, yes. If everyone's not on board, then people realize you're wrong. That's a problem. So if you're going to go to war in Iraq, everyone's got to be saying, Iraq is ISIS, Iraq is ISIS, ISIS is Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda is Iraq, Iraq is Al-Qaeda. Everyone's got to be saying that, because once someone goes, you sure Iraq? Shut up. You're seeing it now with Ukraine. Same thing with Ukraine. Ukraine is the most important. So critical. Russians are evil. Everyone has to say it, because they're going to do things where people are going to be hurt. How do you validate that bad behavior? Social proof. And Rogan is too powerful. They can't call him the fringe guy. So they got to make him the fringe guy so they can validate their bad behavior. I'm not joking on that. When people are doing bad things, they have to validate bad behavior. Joe Rogan hasn't gotten with the plan to validate their bad behavior. That's the issue. So, all right. James says, would you be willing to do a show about the book War's a Racket by Major General Smedley Butler? By the way, Marine Corps General. I was on the base in Okinawa that is actually named after him, Camp Butler. Yes, I was there. I think with everything going on with Russia and Ukraine, it's a book we need to be familiar with. I personally think it should be required reading in high school. Yeah, but if you give it to high school kids, they may not, buy the military-industrial complex. I mean, they're all the same system, right? So you probably don't want to do that if you're part of the system. I'm with you. We should, but yeah, it's not a bad idea. Maybe I'll consider that. Good idea. So yes. Ryan says, how do you feel about big tech censoring people like Joe Rogan's recent guest, Robert Epstein, has discussed? This is a thing that people don't seem to get. And that is, can a private company have its own rules? Of course they can. But it doesn't mean as a libertarian that I have to agree with those rules. I can still say it's bad, right? I can still say it's stupid. If a nightclub wants to say they're only open Monday through Thursday and refuse to sell alcohol, they can. I think that's stupid and bad, and I would never go to that nightclub. Well, I don't go to clubs anymore. When I used to, I would never go to that nightclub. I think it's stupid and bad. No alcohol and only open Monday through Thursday. They could do it. And if they survive and do well and thrive, maybe there's a market for that. I mean, maybe there is. Assuming that there is, they'll thrive and good for them. But I can still say that's dumb. That's bad. You shouldn't do it. So there's a difference between agreeing with someone's choice and and then saying or telling them to say that they can't. Can they? Yes. But there's a problem with this. When you create rules and regulations that basically make you a monopoly, then my mind becomes changed. So I'm talking about theory and then practice. In theory, companies can do as they wish. If I don't like it, I can get angry at that and point out, say, don't do that, it's bad, whatever. I don't have to agree with it. I can think it's stupid or bad. But when you create an environment to where that company is basically a government-sponsored monopoly, that changes. That's when things change, right? And one of the things I bring up this as example of this is actually schooling. Government schools in most states, not all, but in most states are a monopoly. I mean, there's nothing, you realistically, the average person cannot realistically homeschool or go to private school in many states because of the rules and regulations and dollars that it takes to do that. Well, if you're going to have a situation to where you're basically a monopoly, then you don't get to do what you want. You're a monopoly. So as big tech becomes more of a monopoly, I disagree with them being freer, if that makes any sense. The government has to not allow them to be a monopoly. Then do what you want. But when they're a monopoly, when the big companies become so powerful that they become the public square, that then changes. Now, the one good thing about all these problems, which I think it may be, I'm hoping it is. I'm unsure if it is, but I'm hoping that this is shaking up the monopolies through the market. I'm hoping it is. Some of you may know Facebook just lost about 500,000 users. That's a small percentage for them, but they've never lost users ever in the history of the company. Now they've lost, and many of those users left from Africa and Latin America. Now, why does that matter? Because Facebook has been screwing Americans over for years because all their growth has been outside of America. So they didn't care about Americans. So they would use their algorithms to crush us. I'm one of those casualties, to crush us and just focus on outside. They make so much more money outside of America. Who cares what the Americans? Shut up, do what we say. We'll keep you guys satisfied. Shut up. We're making so much money someplace else. But they're not going to get into China probably. And they're losing money now in Africa and Latin America. So now Rumble's trying to come up. Other people are starting to come up, right? So as others come up, I hope this will break the monopolies, in which case I won't care so much about the censoring aspect, if that makes any sense. So I think, in my view, we are in a flux right now. We're in a flux. I'm hoping, I'm not sure, but I'm hoping this will begin to break up these, give us more options. But there's a problem with this, though. Ryan, you brought up a bunch of stuff. There's a problem with this. And the problem is, once you make everything left and right, and there's no middle ground, then nothing gets solved and there's no nuance. And then everything is hyperbole. So Joe Rogan is either, he's either a Bernie Sanders socialist leftist or he's a Klan member, right? One of the two. And in reality, he's neither of those two, right? He's a mix. Not of the Klan part, of the Bernie part. But he's a mix. And he has views on left and right. As to be forward, almost all of us do. I mean, there are some of us who are hardcore in certain ways, but most of us have mixed views on different things. It's affected us. But do we not say them? Do we shut them down? What winds up happening is we wind up doing the worst thing, Ryan, which is we self-censor. That's the worst. Because now if I'm with the left or the right, I can't say stuff because I'm with the right guys. I can't say stuff because I'm with the left guys. I gotta pretend like that part of me that isn't left or isn't right doesn't exist. So now we're all lying. So I hope I didn't go too far on that, but yes. All right. Pete says, the people who scream about misinformation sure lie a lot. Pete, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Nancy says, these events like Canadian truckers and Rogan are no different than movements in history like the Boston Tea Party. If we don't find a way to get in the middle, I believe we'll have another civil war. Sadly, Nancy, I agree. I do. I have been very forward. I am worried about our country falling into actual violence. And again, if you think the BLM protests, the January 6th protests were actual violence, you don't know what violence is. Tell you the truth, you don't know what organized violence is. That's unorganized violence. Organized violence means civil war. That's what I'm worried about. We act like that's the end of the world. We've recovered from both of them already, right? we still haven't recovered fully from the Civil War. 150 years is it now? 160? 160 years? I think 160. 160 years? We still haven't recovered from the Civil War. We recovered from BLM. We recovered from January 6th. It's whatever. I mean, we keep bringing it up, both of them forever and ever. But we've actually recovered from that already. So what we still haven't. So you're right. What is Jefferson's saying? When peaceful protest is hindered, I'm gonna mess up the quote. You guys know the quote I'm talking about. When peaceful protest is hindered, violent revolution is required. Is that right? You know the quote I mean. You know the thing, right? I'm doing my Biden impression. You know the thing. So yes, I'm doing my Biden impression today. But you do know that why do I spend so much time doing this, running for office, things like that? Because I don't want that to happen. Why do I care so much about third parties? Because I think third parties right now are the only way to open up that conversation. I think Yang, with his Forward Party, agrees. I think many people agree with that. They want the third party to try to make some conversations to cross the aisle. I'm with you, Nancy. I agree. Yes. Austin says, Joe needs to take the Rumble deal. I hope he doesn't. I hope he's able to stand his ground and win this with Spotify without giving any more. Because if he goes to Rumble, it means they won. Right? You heard what that guy in CNN said. You never do it with Spotify. They will take it as Spotify fires Joe Rogan for being an horrible person. That's how it will come across. So I hope he doesn't. But look, he should do what makes sense. Right? To the best visibility. Yes. Timothy says, I'll pause Rogan to watch Larry Sharpe. Larry Sharpe should go on Joe Rogan again. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Awesome. The scientific libertarian, Robert Malone was the one lying. Why would you punish the person interviewing him? Isn't there an old saying about killing the messenger? Oh, valid point. Valid point. Right? If you think what Robert Malone was saying was terrible and horrible and hurting people, and you have evidence that it's hurting people, okay. I'm with you. Good. Okay. He's hurting people. Okay. Then you're right. Then punish him. If he's the bad guy, why are you punishing Joe Rogan for bringing him on the show? Because he didn't beat him up enough to your specifications? He didn't yell at him hard enough? Because that would have changed him. Now, to be forward, I didn't watch the interview. I don't know what Robert Malone said. I don't follow these things. So for the sake of argument, I'm going to say he was lying. I don't know if he was. So if he was, he's lying. Punish him. You're going to punish Joe Rogan? Why? I'm with you. Absolutely. Yes. Nancy says, I agree. They should have done nothing. Yes. Joel says, Larry Sharpe needs to get on Joe Rogan again. I agree. But it becomes harder now, doesn't it? It becomes harder now. Because now everybody wants to be on. Now he's even more popular than before. Remember, I was on 4 years ago. He's been more popular now. It's harder for me to get on now. So, yeah. But I appreciate that. Yes. So, all right. Pete says, truth is treason in the empire of lies. Someone once said. True? Yes. All right. Let's see here. Johnny says, if you're not careful, you're going to get a warning label. Beware the truth. Yeah, look, the issue is there was a long time. I spent several months trying to do the right thing, I'm using air quotes, by Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, changing my content a little bit, not being as controversial, not being so anti media. It didn't do anything. It's just an algorithm. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about me or about truth. That's irrelevant. It's just an algorithm, and they just punish me via algorithm. No one's going to review what I have to say. Nobody cares. So you know what? They can all go to hell. I don't care. I'm just saying what I have to say now. Doesn't make any sense. They're not going to let me grow unless you guys help me grow. They're not going to let me grow, right? For those of you who haven't noticed, I have put out more content and better content than I've ever put out in the past 2 years, and I don't grow. There are people who've been watching me for 4 to 6 years and still don't get notifications, and I don't pop up in their feed still to this day. So whatever, we're gonna expand what we do. The team is right now working on a plan to expand and go to even more outlets, and we'll just keep going. Eventually they'll cancel me off of these whenever that comes. Hopefully we'll be on others by the time that happens. Maybe Rumble will give me a deal. Maybe they will. Maybe, you know what? If he doesn't take his deal, I'll take the deal for him. I got you, Joe. You stay there. I'm gonna grab Rumble for you. No worries. And I'll do it for half. Half. I need 150 million. It's fine. See how good I am? Johnny, see how good I am? I'll do it for half. Because I care. That's the reason. Yes. So, all right. Jericho says the only victim is theoretical. This is not about racism. It's about the culture war in politics. Jericho, you are correct. Yes. If it were about racism, President Joe should be the one they're worried about. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I remember the 1994 crime bill. I'm old enough. And if you're my age, you remember the crime bill. You remember that? Yep. I remember. Absolutely. So Thomas says the left labels opposing viewpoints as dangerous misinformation. That's the problem, right? They don't only say it's misinformation, they also say it's dangerous. And my question for them would be, how's dangerous? I would ask what Jericho said, right? Where's the victim? Who is the person hurt by this? And to be forward, maybe there is someone. I'm not saying there isn't anyone hurt by this. Maybe there is. But if that person is hurt, shouldn't somebody say something? If there's a group of people who are actually hurt, shouldn't they say something? Hey, these things hurt us. Here's how. Sometimes speech can end in hurt. That does happen. Well, if it does, let's have the conversation. I'm open to it. I may say something that might actually end up in someone hurting somebody. It's possible. And if it is, let me know. But there are none. It's dangerous because, as Jericho said, in theory, like it could be, well, that's not dangerous. That's just, I don't like it. And if you don't like it, don't watch it. Don't listen. It's okay. It doesn't matter. So yes. JGJ, when does libertarian have a line against what falls under the umbrella of liberty? When does libertarian have a line against? For the traditional conservative, you only have liberty to do good things. I guess the line is what I've been talking about, right? I think what Jericho and I are both talking about. Where is the victim? And that line can be gray because sometimes how do you know what a real victim is? Who really gets hurt, right? So I think that line is sometimes gray and even moves sometimes because how do you measure pain? How do you measure hurt? That's not an easy thing. But that's the key. Am I actively taking someone's liberty, taking someone's property, physically hurting somebody, those types of things? And so if those things are happening, then let's have a conversation, right? There's a point to where, psychological trauma is a thing. But what's that point? It's not easy, but that exists. If I were to bully someone into the point of them committing suicide, okay, that's clearer, right? But what if it's not suicide? It becomes grayer. And how do I know where that goes? But if that's what we're doing, that at least is fair and just. And most libertarians will be like, okay, that makes sense. But I feel bad is not a victim. And good things is completely arbitrary. The point is, am I harming someone? Am I causing harm? If that is your measure, I'm good. Again, being very forward, sometimes that will be gray and fuzzy, and we'll have to have judges decide, was there real harm or not? At what level? But either way, I'm okay. So, all right, here. Ryan says, liking, sharing, commenting. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. Rebecca says, Larry needs to be on all the podcasts to get all sides of the political spectrum. Yes, and yes, and yes. Absolutely. And I'll bring up that liking, comment, and sharing. Please do so. It does matter. That's how I get around these things, by liking, commenting, and sharing. Please do so. And of course, you want to support the show? Support it. Help out the team that's put us together, right? Head over to libertarianism.com. Click that link right there. It's in your description. Or if you've done it already, share it. Let people see it. Libertarianism.com talks about what libertarianism is actually about. It's about happiness, sharing, volunteerism, helping people. Yeah. Larry, how can you say that? It's about you mean, selfish people. Have any of you who know me ever known me to be selfish? Any of you known me to be that way? Have any of you known me not to be forgiving? Have any of you known me not able to give somebody a second chance? Ever? I'm a libertarian. I'm a libertarian. That's what we're actually about. So go there, check it out. We are the only group of people who actually are trying to have answers, solutions to fix things. And of course, like, comment, and share as always. So I'm going to grab some more of your comments if I can. All righty. The Nooner Eclipse says, Larry, what matters about Rogan is he's one of the many voices that doesn't carry water for the mainstream narrative. This is true. Unchecked expansion, merger of state, corporate power, just like after 9/11. You have hit it perfectly. We are growing and growing and growing together as one massive super state that just controls everything. And there's always some reason, some worry, some threat that makes us do that. And guys like Rogan and others, he's the only one. There are others. He's the most popular one, clearly, which is why he gets to hit. But the reality of it is, someone's got to say, maybe that's not right. And he's one of them. I agree completely. Yes. So Rachel says, Spotify should have taken the same stance Netflix did during the Dave Chappelle controversy and not back down. I agree. Either that or every current events podcast on Spotify should require warnings, including those from the New York Times and NPR. Yes. Chappelle didn't apologize. He did another special. He's doing just fine. Netflix didn't apologize. They just kept putting out content. And eventually people said, well, I'm mad, but man, I like Netflix. Or man, I'm mad, but I like Dave Chappelle. And some people said, I don't like Dave Chappelle anymore. I'm not going to watch him. And you should do that. That's appropriate. If you don't like him, don't watch him. I think you're foolish. He's brilliant and funny. You should watch him. But if you don't want to, you don't have to. And I have a right to say that. That's my opinion. You have every right to tell me to go take a hike. Gene says, I've never watched Joe Rogan. I got to tell you, this is a funny story. You guys may not know this, but I'm going to be very forward with you. When I got on Joe Rogan, I had no idea how popular he was. I'm with you, Gene. We're probably about the same age, I'm guessing. I knew him from Fear Factor and The Man Show. That's true. That's where I knew Joe Rogan from. The Man Show, for those who remember his old Comedy Central show, and Fear Factor. That's what I knew him from. I thought he's some podcast guy. That's nice, great. Let's go on. And the team's like, Larry, you're on Rogan. It's gonna be. I'm like, oh, is it a big deal? Seriously, I did not know how big it was. I'm with you. I wasn't a huge podcast fan. I liked Joe Rogan, but it wasn't from that. It was from Fear Factor and The Man Show. I happen to like The Man Show. I know I'm misogynistic, but I did enjoy The Man Show. And I liked him from that. So I knew who he was and I liked him, but it wasn't from his podcast. So I didn't realize how powerful it was. So I go out there, I do the show. It's all good. I come back and my YouTube channel doubles in like a week. I had at the time I had 12,000 people on my YouTube channel. And I went 25,000 in a week. I was like, this guy's not playing games. It was amazing. I was very happy I went, but I'm with you. I didn't know how powerful he was. Again, knew who he was, did like him, didn't know his power. No idea. Doubled my YouTube in a week. So I'll go on and do it again. Double my YouTube again. Be awesome. But yes, absolutely. So, all right. Byron says the artists are mad because Joe got a multi-million-dollar deal and they only get paid 0.0003 cents a download. On that point, I'm in agreement. Artists should make real money from their content. The COVID narrative was only to get their next 15 minutes of relevance. I think you're right. They have a point, but Byron, I think you're right. But if you're gonna get together, then get together to fight Spotify, right? They should have got together to fight. If they're prepared to pull their stuff off of Spotify, and many of them have done so, and they were ready to do so. If you're ready to do that, then don't get mad at Joe Rogan. Get mad at Spotify and say we're all together, and we're all gonna pull our music unless you don't give us 0.0003 cents per download. You got to give us more, or we're pulling our stuff. That's collective bargaining. That's the market. That's what they should have done. So if you're right, and I don't doubt you, they made a mistake. Making Joe Rogan the enemy was a bad idea. It should have instead said, we should look what Spotify's doing. They're a bad company, and here's why they're bad, because of the money that we want. Whatever. That would have been a much better way of doing it. They could have used the spotlight of Joe Rogan to get the light on them, but they should have attacked the company they were talking about. It would have been a much better move if that's true. So, yes. All right. Andrea says, it seems people don't understand the difference between being offended and being hurt. Ooh, Andrea, so good. I'm so going to use that. I'm going to use that. Wow, so good. People don't understand the difference of being offended and being hurt. And there's a difference. You're totally right. Yes. Pete, look, you should be happy, Pete. We broke the $30 trillion mark. National debt, $30,735,946,967.99. National debt. Yes. Yes. Paula says, I rarely listen to Rogan till now. He's winning, isn't he? Rogan's winning. I love it. Yes. Absolutely. Sam says, the biggest problem with the cry bullies, ooh, I like that, is that the hurt isn't real. It's just the silence differing voices. Yes. Yes. I'm not against someone. In fact, I'm 100% for apologizing if you hurt someone. Right? And sometimes we do inadvertently. And again, there's a difference between intent and impact. And you should forgive someone who does not have the intent, but creates the impact. It should be a relatively easy forgive. Let's hope they actually care, want to try to make things right, and now we're good. So, yes. Jonathan says, Rogan's use of the N-word has put another black mark in the ledger of the free speech movement. Yep. I get the contextual argument, but I'm at a loss to understand how we thought it would be a good idea to use it. It's unfortunate, but the free speech movement has to be more careful than others. Yes, Jonathan, valid point on this, but to be fair to him, if you look at that time, there's a whole lot of people who were using the N-word like that. A whole lot. Almost all of them on the left, not on the right. Some were, but people on the right who were using it, when they would use that word, the problem is if you were on the right trying to use that word, you were attacked as being a racist. So you often either used it in anger as a racist, trying to be mean. That was one way of using it. Or you wouldn't use it. You say something else. You use some euphemism, right? Some other negative word, but not that one. The left would use that word thinking, well, I'm on the left, so I can use it because I'm on the left and I'm being, erudite, so I can use it. So if you go back and you start looking through everyone's stuff, I'm telling you, if I'm Rogan's fans, I'm going through everybody's stuff right about now and finding every N-word usage, and a bunch of stuff comes up. Let's fire everybody. And here's the problem. All those other people, they can be fired. They're replaceable. Those two guys in CNN, replaceable. You could get rid of them tomorrow. Nobody would even notice. Half the people wouldn't even, is that the same guy? Maybe, I don't know. Whatever. They wouldn't even care. Rogan, that's replaceable. But I think your point's a valid one, Jonathan. It's a valid point. Yes. So, Brandon says, never use the N-word, and I don't think anyone really should, but I believe in freedom of speech. Yeah. Look, how do I say this? And I don't want to put myself in a bad spot, but I also don't want to pull back and censor myself either. And I want you to understand where I stand. If you're black and you've been called the N-word in anger or in disdain, whether in person or in social media, hearing someone use it like Joe Rogan used it doesn't hurt. It may bother you, and it does bother, but it doesn't hurt, if that makes any sense. It's like, you said that, really? So it's bothersome. It's not hurtful because you've already had it used hurtfully towards you. You felt it. I've had it used towards me and towards my daughter because of me. So someone using it the way he does use it, does it bug me? It does. It bugs me a little bit. But there's no hurt. There's the difference between like kind of being offended. I'm not even offended. I am bothered by it. It's true. I'm bothered by it. No doubt. But I'm not hurt by it. He's not calling someone it. He's not calling me or mine it. He's not doing that. He's talking about, and it is bothersome, but it's not hurtful. And that nuance matters. It does matter. I'm sure if someone was discussing, if someone, and I keep bringing it up because I'm in New York City, if you're Jewish or you're gay. I'm sure people brought up slurs, Jewish slurs or gay slurs, and they were talking about it. If you had been called that slur to your face in anger, if someone was discussing it, you wouldn't be hurt by it. You'd be bothered by it. And there's a difference. And if you're bothered by it, that should be a discussion, not a yelling, not a screaming, not a fight. That should be a discussion. Look, it bothers me when you say that. Could you not say that? That bothers me. And oh, whoa, sorry, didn't mean it, right? My impact was negative. My intent was not. Correct me because it wasn't my intent. I'll change the impact immediately because my intent was not to hurt. I will change. So this should be a conversation. And Whoopi Goldberg is no different. That should have been a conversation. That shouldn't have been punishment. She wasn't trying to hurt. That wasn't, and she, how do I know? Because Whoopi has been mean and tried to hurt people before. That was not trying to hurt. And I get it. If you're Jewish, that bothered you. I get it. It bothers you. It should have been a conversation. She was not trying to hurt. That was not Whoopi's goal. And it wasn't Joe's goal. He wasn't trying to hurt. So I hope that's clear. So anyway, I hope that was okay. Nat Hancock thinks you have the right to read a book with the word in it. I think you do too. In fact, I'll go so far as to say, I think if we rewrite books and pull out the N-word in books, then we're actually making things worse. Right? I probably told a story to you before. I've had my daughter sit and watch movies like 12 Years a Slave or Amistad. I'll have them watch movies like my oldest watch Amistad, my youngest watch 12 Years a Slave. And they're not, pulling punches. They're showing horribleness. And I want you to know that if you're a teenager or a kid or a young adult, even a young adult who doesn't know any better. I think you can't pull it out of literature. You want people to know what happened, right? We talked about this in the show last week, right? I want you to see the horrors in Schindler's List. I want you to be triggered by that. I hope you are triggered by watching Roots from the 70s or watching Schindler's List or watching 12 Years a Slave. I want you to be triggered by that. That's all I'm saying. You should be triggered. If you're not, something's wrong with you. You should be triggered. Yes. So, Solaris says the N-word has power because the majority of people agree to allow it to have power. Context does matter as well. Yes, and I think that's my entire point when it comes to when it comes to intent. It absolutely does. Yes, absolutely. Shelly says, I support Joe Rogan 100%. Me too. I agree. Absolutely. So Byron says, Joe is Italian. I thought he'd get a pass on the N-word. No, that's not how that works. If you're Italian, you could get a pass if you want to within your own group and your own words. If you want to, I don't decide that. I'm not Italian. Italians can make their own decisions on that one. That's on them, not on me. So yes. Anyway, yes. All right. Let's see here. Jonathan says Joe supported, or at least he said he supported Bernie. He did, and he also supported Gary Johnson. Not too bad. Not too bad. Yes. Brendan says Joe Rogan is legit middle of the road. In the real world, in New York, he is Trump and Giuliani. That's funny. In the real world, he's middle of the road. In New York, he's Trump and Giuliani. It's true. You're right, Brandon. You are correct. You're correct. And that's a problem because how do we grow without it? How do we? Yes. So Judith says, and those with the courage to ask questions are not automatically extremists. They should not be. I agree. Yeah, Laura says he's voted libertarian the last two presidents. Also true. He has. Absolutely. Yes. John says, Larry, do what you can to talk Rogan into becoming a libertarian. Not just him. I'm going to tell you something some of you may not know, and some of you may have watched it. Just recently, last Friday, Bill Maher said on the show that Republicans have been reaching out to him to get him to become Republican because he's been attacked by the left so much. He's been attacking the left. He's like, I'm never becoming Republican, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, we're still here. If you go back 20, 30 years, Bill Maher was libertarian. Not anymore, but he was. Come back home, brother. If you happen to be watching or someone knows Bill Maher, we're here. You can come home. You need a little bit of deprogramming. That's fine. I'm happy to have those conversations. I'll help get you back. I will. I'll bring you back. No problem. I will take that job on myself. Oh, good. And if Joe wants to come, Joe Rogan wants to come, you're watching? Come on, Joe. Our arms are wide open. I will personally help shepherd you through. All good. Yes. So I agree with you, John. If I could turn any of them, I totally would. And I hope that we can become popular enough in the next coming years. And this is my point earlier. If we don't, they will become almost irrelevant because they won't be able to pick a side in the coming pain, in the coming fight. But if we create that third party where they can come to, they'll come, right? They will. And, you know, maybe when it comes to someone like Bill Maher, he might go to Andrew Yang's forward party. He might. But I would take that, right? That isn't perfect. I'd rather be libertarian. But I would accept that, right? I would take that if he goes to that level. Fine, he goes there. But at least he doesn't do the left-right paradigm, right? We'll see. I can only hope. So yes. Shelley says, all speech is free speech. Not all speech is beneficial speech. True. And we can call it out, and we should. I agree with you. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Joel says, I took that Q word and owned it. No longer used to hurt anyone. Oh, I like that. I like that. Yes. Ed says, not to mention Patriot Takes is basically defaming people on all side by their body. Yes. Again, it was a hit piece. You're right, Ed. It was a hit piece. It was, let's attack him and act like it's surfaced. It was literally a hit piece. Yes. Rebecca yells, everyone get to your safe spaces. I know. Yes. It was bad, right? Oh my God. Yes. That's good. The Solaris says, in the end, it's just letters and sounds like any other word. People have given its power it has now. Yes, but you know, it also goes to what's happened in your life, right? I mean, in theory, no words should hurt. In theory, but in practice, they do. We're just human, but it isn't just that, and that's what I want to keep bringing up. There are people in your life right now who could say almost anything to you, and you would not be upset. Because you love and trust that person, you would assume they're trying to help. You would assume they're trying to shake something out of you. That will be your assumption, right? You would assume that's true. And there are people who can say something that's on the edge and you're ready to fight. So it also matters who's saying it to you. Do you value that person's opinion? Do you think they're on your side or not? That also matters. It isn't only the words, also the people who say it also. So yes. So, all right. Let's see if I can get down to some more. Rachel says, what kind of organization is scouring hours and hours of podcasts to find slurs to discredit Rogan? Someone who is paid to do so. And organizations who have money will simply pay people to go do that. Rachel, yes. Someone will say, hey, Rachel, I'll give you whatever, $1,000 or whatever is the number that you need. Go through all of Larry Sharpe's stuff and find every time he used a slur. Just watch it all, whatever, right? I have hours of stuff, whatever. And maybe it's even more than that because I have hours of stuff too. I don't have as much as Joe Rogan, but whatever. Say I have, I don't know, 1,000 hours of stuff. Maybe, I don't know. Say I have 1,000 hours of stuff. You might go, 1,000 hours, it's going to take me and my team forever to go through that stuff. Whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. How much you need? 10 grand? Here's 10 grand. 10 grand, go do it. And you just go through it. You need 100 grand, here's 100 grand, go do it. When they have money, you find bodies. People need work. People want to do it, so they go through it. It's all about cash. It's literally that simple. So if big organizations and big establishment is prepared to write checks, you'll get people to go through anything because people need work. You got cash, you do it. And there's a level, Rachel. I don't know what your number is, but there's a number that I could pay you. I don't have the money, but if I did, that I could pay you that you'd go look through all the stuff and find whatever I asked you to, if I had enough cash to do so. Or you'd get a team or whatever. So yes, that's what it is. So anyway, I struggle to understand what half of these activist groups do aside from stoke social media firestorm. That's it. That's their job. No need to struggle. That's their job, to make that happen. It's not a waste of time and resources if your goal is to simply make sure that we're still fighting each other. That's why I said part of this that bothers me is it's distraction. The reality of life, at its core, just the facts. If Joe Rogan does very well or fails at Spotify, It won't affect us personally at all. I'm not going to have a better education for my kids or pay my bills better. Doesn't matter, right? Either way. Rachel, it's not going to affect your life either way. You're going to do what you're going to do, whether he is very successful or not. So logically, why do we care? So it's kind of distraction. But as I mentioned earlier, part of me says it's not. Because once he goes, what happens next? Someone has to hold the line. Someone does. And he at least has the power to do so. He can hold the line. A lot of other people couldn't. Right? They're not able to hold the line. He is. Yes. Matt says, if the fascists have cookies, if someone to follow. They do. And what people don't realize about fascists is people think that fascists are terrible looking, mean ogres. No, their fascists go out of their way to look good. They get cool uniforms and look tough. Get armbands and stuff. Cool hats. That's what fascists do, right? I mean, look at the fascist uniforms throughout the world. They look real good. They go out of their way to look good. So they have all types of things. Cookies and flags and armbands and uniforms and shiny boots. All kind of cool stuff. And people fall for it. And that's the problem. People fall for it. They didn't fall for it, then what do you care? But people fall for it because they look good. The fascists are savvy. They look great. They got to make that facade awesome because the inside's dark and nasty. So the outside looks great. Just don't bite into that cookie. It's a good looking cookie. So anyway, yes. All right. Rebecca says, I've heard Chris Rock and George Lopez comedy specials more beeped than that. Yes, absolutely. That was just a bunch of beeps. Absolutely. So, right. Buddha says there are no rules in a street fight. Part of me says there are. Maybe not. You know, I'm torn on that one. I'm torn on that. Maybe you're okay. Let me put a nuance to this one too. You're right. There are no rules in a street fight. However, if you do things that are seen as wrong or bad, you may pay a social price afterwards, if that makes any sense. So, yes, there's no rules in street fight. However, there may be social price to pay if you do things that you shouldn't do by whatever rules you may have had in your own gang or group. So, yes, with a nuance. All right. So, all right. Let's see. Shelly says maybe the beeps sound out the N-word. They don't. Yes, they do. That's correct. Yes. But not that he should have said the N-word, but the anchor was like, this is disturbing. Oh my God. It's a bunch of beeps. That's not disturbing. So yeah. Paul says Rogan could get the nomination over Trump if he wanted to now. Ooh. Paul, it's a tough one. On popularity, in theory, yes. But he isn't that far right in most of his views. He has some right-leaning views, but if you look at what Joe Rogan's talked about, he leans far more left than he does right. So I'm not sure in a Republican primary you can get someone who's that left to win. You'd have to have a bunch of Democrats just kind of change parties and kind of take over the Republican Party. That'd be the only way you could do it. Republicans that I know would think he's too far left for them. I mean, there are some exceptions. There are moderate Republicans, absolutely. I don't think there's enough moderate Republicans in the party who come out and vote who would vote for him. I think he's too far left for most Republicans. That's just my view. So, Sam says, I find journalists enjoying a First Amendment and platforming, trying to censor and deplatform others more disturbing than a bunch of bleeps. Agreed. Yes, agreed. 100%. Joe Rogan is a pawn for the propaganda machine. Huh. Buddha, you're making me think tonight, brother. You're making me think tonight. Are you saying purposefully, or are you saying that's how they're using him? Because I don't think he is purposefully himself doing that. If your argument is that he's being used that way, yes, I think that's true. I don't think he's purposefully doing it, though. I think he's doing what he thinks is the right thing, whatever that is, and he's paying the price because people don't care if you do the right thing. They care if you do what makes them happy. So I think that's where that's going. The Rocket Man says CNN was bought out by Discovery recently. Yes, which is why I'm telling you, 2 to 3 years, CNN is going to be a company that does documentaries. It'll be CNN Presents all over. It's going to become a channel that does documentaries because their news is garbage now. And the sad part is, for those of you who remember CNN is still decent at one thing: regular news. Like there's a big fire or a plane goes down or there's a war. They're actually pretty good at that still. I would argue better than Fox and MSNBC. They're good at regular news. The problem is they don't want to do it. They want to do this opinion garbage. If they would just do regular news, they're actually not bad at it. It's not a bad place to go when, again, a plane falls out of the sky. The problem is not enough planes. It's not a problem. But for them, not enough planes fall out of the sky. Not enough wars happen. Not enough of these things happen for them to create that. But if they're focusing on documentaries, they can use that same skill set to produce good documentaries that people will watch. And they can sell to other platforms. They can put up on Hulu or on HBO or whatever the case may be. So I think the new guy's Discovery, they booted the president of CNN. He's gone. So they're going to change CNN over to documentaries. That's what I think happens in 2 to 3 years because they have a skill set at that. They're actually decent at it. And people disagree with me, but I think CNN, when it comes to regular straight news, is actually the best of the three. If they have anybody left who does it, let me change that. They have been the best of the three. I don't know if anyone left who does that is even there anymore, but they were at least the best of those three, of the three. So I think they'll go back to that. That's what my gut says. So, all righty. Joe, who says www.larrysharpe.com/donate. If you want to support me running around New York State, LarrySharpe.com/donate. It's a great place to do it. The link is there if you want to. Please help me out so I can keep this going and make stuff happen. So thank you for that. Absolutely, thank you for that. Yes. All right, let me go down a couple more here. You guys have so many. I'm trying to get to as many as I possibly can. All right. Joel says, I used to watch The View when it was first on. Then they turned it into an hour of hating George Bush, and I couldn't stand it anymore. Yeah, it became The View, not views. One view, the right view. Everything else is evil. Yes. Rebecca says, CNN is reporting on this non-news because they don't want to acknowledge the military being sent to Ukraine because no side wants that. Yeah, but see, Rebecca, I'll go back to this part. If CNN was doing what it was good at, and I think can still be good at, they'd be accurately reporting that. They'd be embedding reporters. They'd be doing the news stuff that they started in the 80s and 90s doing and were good at. Or I think they would do that. So, I don't know. I think they could do it. And I think they should. So, yes. Thomas says, one drop, Larry. You are right. You know that's the reverse, but thank you for that. I appreciate that. Yes, absolutely. That's funny. Jim says, the black white supremacist. Yeah, and they turned Larry Elder into that too. So I'm not the only guy who's been that. Correct. Yes. All right. Joe says, libertarian better than Democrat / Republican. I am completely biased, and I agree. I do. Yes. Shelley says, white supremacist isn't the nice thing to say either. Yes. Agreed. 100%. Agreed. Glenn says Clayton Bigsby for New York State governor. That's a good, for those of you, that's a Dave Chappelle reference. Thank you, Glenn. That's a good one. I like that one. Michael says, free Julian Assange now. You know, if I were to move into the federal level in any way, I would be talking about that. I think you're right, Michael. And it isn't because Julian Assange is a good guy or a bad guy. I actually don't know whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. But if we were to actually, as a government, say, you know what? All charges dropped. Dude, go home. Just go home. If we actually did that as a nation, we'd be setting the right precedent to say, we're really about change and reform. We're about actual transparency. So I don't know how guilty or not guilty Julian Assange is. I actually don't know. But my point is, here's what I believe. He believes he was a journalist giving documents out to what needed to be done. That's what he believes. I believe that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that. So let him go. It sends the right message to the rest of the world, to journalists, that we're not a police state. I mean, we are, but it would, if we were serious, we would also bring Snowden home and give him the Medal of Freedom. And I mean that seriously. I'm not saying that to be a jerk. I think that if anyone deserves the Medal of Freedom, it's Snowden. We should bring Snowden home, bring Ed Snowden home, give him the Medal of Freedom, drop all charges, drop all Julian Assange charges, all of them, and say, we're serious about transparency. We're going to try to fix things. That sends the right message. And some people, if you did both of those things, might go, all right, maybe they're serious. You might get people to actually believe and care. Right now, lots of people don't. So, yes. Lewis says, it's desensitizing people for the actual Nazis. Now called Democrats. You didn't have to go that far, Lewis, but you're right. Right? They're acting like he's a Nazi. No. No, you don't know what actual Nazis are. They're way worse. Way worse. Way worse. Brutal. Way worse. Paula says, Rogan and Whoopi are convenient distractions for U.S. troops in Ukraine. You're not wrong, Paula. You are not wrong. Absolutely, you are not wrong. All right. Let's see here. Elaine says, I'm in the middle and I feel marooned. Welcome aboard, Elaine. I'm happy to take you here. Happy to. Joe says, end all the damn wars. Yes, 100%. Yes. All right. Lewis says, I'm sorry to see these two guys are jealous dopes. They are. Dustin says, Google is definitely an intelligence op now. God, I hope you're wrong, Dustin, but I feel like you're right. Right? I don't want to believe that. But it's a part of me that says, I think you're right. Right? It's a part of me that says, I think you're right. So, absolutely. All right. Bulla says, they don't just want to cancel you. They want to humiliate you. Yes. Destroy you. Yes. Degrade you. Yes. And ruin your life's work. Yes. Black or white, left or right, does not matter. You either stick to the script or you'll be annihilated. That is the goal. And that, I think, is about the point, Paul. The average person who's coming up, who's trying to defend themselves, can't. Most of us can't afford to get blacklisted, degraded, destroyed. We can't afford to. He can. Right? He has the ability to withstand the assault, which is why I hope he doesn't lose. I hope he wins because he can withstand the assault. Most of us couldn't do it. So I think you're right. He absolutely can. Yes. Rebecca says, any inner city neighborhood, not just NYC. You're right. You would hear worse language in any of them. You're correct, Rebecca. I shouldn't say, you're right. I know my city, but you're right. It's any city. Correct. You would hear horrible, horrible stuff. Absolutely. So he says the commentators will never go into any neighborhood but their own. Also very true. Yes. Paula says, I'm seeing white people in healthcare being called the N-word by the white people. What you also see, by the way, is the N-word being used by people who are coming from any poor neighborhood. People Hispanic from poor neighborhoods, white from poor neighborhoods, black from poor neighborhoods. You do see it in the youth. The younger people are calling each other the N-word. And I've told you this before, many of you have trouble even understanding it by how I speak now. But when I was a little kid in the 60s and 70s, all my friends were black or Hispanic. As I got older, they were all white because I moved to Long Island. But so I went from all black and Hispanic friends overnight to all mostly white friends. When all my friends were black or Hispanic in the Bronx, we called each other the N-word all the time. It basically meant friend or partner or brother. We just did. We didn't even think. Right? We'd get together for baseball because I lived by Yankee Stadium. And we play baseball because we all wanted to be the Yankees in the 70s, right? So we all elementary school kids. Hey, how many N-words we got to play? That's how we spoke, right? It's how we spoke. So all I'm saying is I agree with you. How about that? There we go. I'll leave it at that. Yes. So, Tom says Joe Rogan and every real rapper need to be sent to the land of misfit toys. Yeah, that'll teach them. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Brian says, I always laugh at those who try to claim authoritarianism versus democracy. A democracy is 3 wolves and a sheep deciding on what to eat for supper. It's the definition of authoritarianism. Yeah, Brian, let me touch that piece. Democracy is not perfect at all. It isn't, which is why it has to be tempered with individual rights. But it's still the best that we have, right? There isn't a better realistic government right now. I mean, we don't actually have a working democracy in America, but in theory, you want to have a democracy that is balanced with individual rights. That's about the best you're going to get right now. There may be some better form. Maybe with technology, we can create a better form of government. And I'm okay with that. That's possible. I totally am. With what we have now in the world and many states moving towards more authoritarianism, I would take a democracy tempered with individual rights over anything else I've seen. So, but you're right. Not perfect. But I still think the best that we can have. I'm open to something else. I mean, I totally am open to it. Yes. All right. William says, saw a clip with Morgan Freeman and his point being to stop focusing on race. To end racism, we have the power within our own hands to start with the man in the mirror. It's a valid point, right? I mean, again, it depends on where you're going, right? In the case of Morgan Freeman, obviously very successful. He's made his way through in a field he wants to be in. So good for him. No hate, no shade on him at all. He has a valid point. The issue is, how do you get that message to someone who hasn't been that successful? It's not easy to get that message to someone, particularly if they're older. What if you're a similar age? Right? He's got to be in his 70s now, right? 60s, 70s, maybe 70s. So what if you're in your 60s now and you're a black man like him and you're not successful at all? You haven't hit that thing. And the racism that you dealt with as being that old, right? So obviously earlier in your life, you dealt with a lot more than you would now. But whatever that was, you believe or been told or believe or was, whatever your world is, it affected you. How do you get that message to that guy? It's not easy. Again, like his message, it's challenging. And it takes a lot of time and energy to make that happen. Otherwise, it's a whole lot easier if you look back at your life with the failures that you've had. We've all had failures, whatever your failures are, mine, his, and blame somebody else. That feels a whole lot better. That goes a whole lot better than going, man, I got to look at my own life and kind of reevaluate. Oh, that hurts. That hurts. Again, not saying you're wrong. Challenging. That's all I'm saying. Challenging. So yes. All right. Let's see here. David says, Larry, it's all on your permanent record. I remember that. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. The scientific libertarian, you called me a policy guy, Larry. How dare you? I know it was an insult. Let me go make a video about how sorry I am. I'm gonna go back through all of my videos and pull out all the time I've used the word policy guy, and then you'll forgive me, right? Oh no. Now I get canceled. Sorry. Yes. John says, when musicians, including Neil Young in the 80s, were fighting for their own free speech from the Tipper Gore agenda of trying to censor their music and rate their albums, they screamed how their First Amendment was being violated. Now they're telling us Joe Rogan has the right for the First Amendment protections. Yeah, I know. You're right, John. The Neil Young thing bothers me too. It does. And for those of you who are younger, you're like, Neil who? But for those of you a bit older, you know that Neil Young was the guy who was talking about freedom and to hell with the establishment. He was one of those guys. Then he got old and on Spotify and was like, establishment's awesome. I guess he's one of those guys who gets ahead and then pulls the ladder up and goes, I got it, not you. I agree. I always say this. There are times when you can just say nothing. And I think if I was Neil Young, I would have said nothing. Just whatevs. I'm just gonna go hang out, right? Whatever. Joe Rogan will fight his battle. I'm gonna go do my thing. I don't have to step up and do anything. I can just walk away. I think he should have just walked away. That's what I think. Rebecca says people should look up the New York City comedian Akash Singh on YouTube. Amazing Truth Comedy. Also his podcast, Flagrant 2, especially the episode with Tim Dillon. Surprising that people from New York City have common sense thoughts. Well, there we go. Good shout out. Akash, I hope you're good at this. I hope Rebecca's right. People watching you. Rebecca, if he sucks, everyone's gonna be mad at you now. So I hope he's good. So yes. All right. Let's see here. Joel says the wandering. Am I gonna get mad? DAGO. I know what that is. Food truck was kicked out of the Saratoga racetrack 10 years ago for the name. You know, I've heard Italian Americans call each other that. Well, no, not really. Called someone else that, you know, around those people, and they laugh about it. I've seen that, right? I don't use the phrase. I don't know. The problem is my ignorance. I don't know how bad that word is to an Italian American. Is that a jokey word? If I said it, would they laugh? Would they be mad? I actually don't know. Like, I don't know how offensive that is. So I don't use it because I'm not Italian American. So I don't use it. But look, I get it. Maybe it offends some guy or person. And they're like, look, I'm hurt. Don't do it. I don't know. So yes. Wayne says, usually when you have to say, I'm not racist, you are. Yeah. Often true. Often true. Buddha says, kun means friend in Japanese. Let me bang for that. Kun is does it mean, it's more of a familiar suffix than it means. Friend is tomodachi. I'm sorry, I happen to know Japanese. I know it's because friend is tomodachi, if not mistaken. Kun is you use it at the end of a word, usually with a, like if you were to say Larry, you would say rakun as my friend, like raccoon. Yes, that's how you would say it, I know. But yes, but you use it as a friendly suffix in Japanese. Name and then kun as something. If your name was Buddha, it'd be Bukun or Buddha-kun, is how you would say it in Japanese. But yeah, I don't think you should ban anybody for that anyway. I'm with you. Yes. I'm sorry. Sometimes stuff I know makes me, it's funny I have to know that stuff. Anyway, Sam says, Brian Stelter, the world's biggest F-up, gets no room to say anything ever about anyone. I would agree with that. Yes, I would agree completely. Yes, 100%. Yes. Let's see. Mainstream media is so broken, says Tim. You are right. I agree. Absolutely. Let's see here. Ryan says a free solution is the only way. Yes. Oh, I like that. Absolutely. Yes. Helena says Russell Brand did a really good video on this afternoon. Actually, his last couple of videos are good on the subject, but the one today was really eye-opening. It's on the amount of data mining legacy media does and why there isn't disclosure notices for that. The amount of military analysis that CNN hires who state we need to go to war all the time. No disclosure about the amount of money their analysts make off their contracts, the military industrial complex. Yes, yes, and yes. They are corrupt. They are terrible. Yes, you're absolutely right, Helena. Absolutely. Myron says, just for the sake of accuracy, he used the word way more than 8 years ago, but always in the context that he described, so he believed that it was okay. Suddenly changed his mind because backlash. I think that's true for a lot of people. And I think I'm guilty of that too, to be forward with you, as I mentioned earlier about my earlier. When my language was very misogynistic in my early 20s and my late teens, but heavily early 20s, I didn't think anything was wrong with it. In fact, I didn't think, and this may sound stupid, but I'm going to tell you how I was actually thinking. I didn't think I was being misogynistic. I thought I was just talking and people would get it. And I was just motivating people. That's what I was doing. That's what I thought. And I was wrong. It was not appropriate and bad. And I think he believed, that's my gut, is that he believed it was okay. People would get it. That the impact is not a big deal. But I think he was right to apologize. For that part, right? You shouldn't be using the word. I get it. But you apologized. I got it. But my point about apology was the reason why the second video with the N-word came out was because he apologized the first time. When he apologized for the, oh, I should have had more people on or different views, that opened the door to, aha, we got him. Now N-word video comes out. That happened after the first apology. if he hadn't done the first one, the video doesn't come out. That's my issue. But for saying the N-word as he did so much, he apologized. He said it was wrong. Doesn't use it anymore. I got it. He didn't point his finger at somebody. He didn't call somebody it. There's a whole lot worse than him. And Myron, I'm going to guess you know what I mean. There's a whole lot worse than that. And I mean a whole lot worse than that. And I tell this story when it comes to violence on my father. My father, who dealt with more racism than I dealt with, without question, far more than I did. My father grew up in the 50s, 40s and 50s. So he dealt with far more racism than I did. He was sitting in a bar or diner with a white woman. He wasn't dating her. He just knew her. And because he was a veteran, and he'd come back from Europe, 60s, 63, 64, 60s. Came back from Europe. He got out right, my father got out of the military right when Vietnam was just starting to flare up. So he missed the heavy fighting there. He was in during Vietnam, but he got out right when it started to flare up. 63, 64, he comes back. He knows this woman from the military, a fellow veteran. They're sitting, talking. And a guy comes up. And if you remember those old, back in the day, to pop open a can, you had a can opener, had a pointy piece and a flat piece where you pop open a bottle, pop open a can. Guy smashed my dad in the head with one of those can openers. Opened up his skull. He had stitches. Opened up his skull. Just cuz. How dare you sit in an establishment with a white woman? That's bad. Way worse than saying, well, you know. How about the guys who ran the guy down? You know, Ahmaud Arbery ran the guy down, killed him. Way worse. Way worse. Not even close. Way worse. But you know what I'm saying. I'm sure you do. So let me keep going if I can. Let's see here. David says, he's so bad. What, you don't believe me? Watch this. Oh, yeah. Yes, gotcha. Yeah, right. Ed says, I mean, Imus came right out and said what he said, apologized, went to Sharpton, got humiliated by Sharpton, got canceled, fired. Still after all that, still got canceled by MSDNC. Rest easy, Mr. Imus. Imus said some bad stuff though, too. I mean, Ed, Imus, but I'm gonna try to be fair to everybody. I'm gonna try. Imus says some bad stuff too. Imus also a whole lot older, can do a whole lot more stuff, and was a shock jock. I think he should have apologized, not gone to Sharpton. That was the mistake. Apologized, tried to move on. If he gets canceled, he gets canceled. But he should just apologize, try to move on. That's what I think should have done. That's my view. So yes. All right. Let's see here. That story was 100 times worse than the use of the N-word. Yes. You're right. Thomas, I'm offended you spoke disparagingly of Muppets. Yes. Yeah. I did hammer the Muppets. I apologize. That was bad. I probably shouldn't have been so mean to the Muppets. I do apologize. Yes. All right. So I'll grab some of these. Dan says, I'd never make it in public life. I wouldn't avoid the racist tropes since they want to believe it anyway. Just come out and say white people, black people, yellow people, and brown people all suck. Let's say something useful. You suck. And I get to decide what's useful. You know, the sad part is I'm becoming more like that, more and more like that. And I shouldn't, right? I should still, but I'm becoming more and more like that. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should be rethinking some of this stuff. But yeah, I think more people are becoming that way too, just not caring. Yeah. People should care. I mean, you shouldn't have to censor yourself, but you should care. And you should be looking for, is there a victim? Michael says, the town I grew up here in Ohio during the early to mid 70s, we had a Mason-Dixon line in the town. And as the son of Yugoslav immigrants, I grew up on the wrong/right side of it. I know what you mean by that. You find people getting caught sometimes behind enemy lines or not. Where I grew up in the Bronx, for those of you who know New York City, where I grew up in the South Bronx, in the 40s and 50s, it was actually a very Jewish neighborhood. And still, when I grew up in the 60s and 70s, there were still some of the older Jewish men and women were still there. So it was heavily Black and Hispanic, with all of a sudden like an old white Jewish guy would come out. That's how I learned to play chess. The old white Jewish men taught me how to play chess in the park because they were all retirees, 70s, 80s, and they would sit in the park and teach little kids like me how to play chess. So that's where I really learned how to play chess. I mean, my father taught me, but I really learned by playing them. That's how I managed to beat my father. The Jewish retirees taught me how to beat my father in chess. So, yes, sometimes they were on the wrong or right side, but yeah, I remember as a kid, we tended to, the kids love them when they would come, because they'd come out early. The kids would come home from school, they'd be out in the park, usually playing. They often had candy for us. So we loved the old Jewish retirees. We thought they were great. I don't know if they were harassed. I was too young to really know if they were. I don't remember any of the retirees staying out late. They mostly went in before it was dark. So I don't remember if they were harassed. I would assume they were, as I think about it, probably. I mean, it wasn't a good neighborhood. So I bet they would head home and stay inside at night. Would be my assumption. I just don't remember. I was too little. 10, 11, 9. I was a kid. So, all right. Let's see here. Grab a couple more. Joe says, chess is a great game, pure strategy. Absolutely, yes. So Todd says, I'm 1.3% Italian. I'm offended. Yes. It is, by the way, Joe, Kun. In English or Roman letters, it is K-U-N. Usually hyphenated, hyphen K-U-N in English. But it's two symbols, ku and n in Japanese. Two separate. Japanese is a syllabary. It doesn't actually have an alphabet. It has a syllabary, which means each symbol is not a consonant or vowel. Each symbol is a sound, is a syllable. So it's ku is one and n is another. So kun. It's not kun. Anyway, yes. All right. Let's see if I can do this here. All right. More. John says the Peter Schiff interview with Joe Rogan has several times indicates Peter changed his views on the free market. Oh, look at that. Here we go. I like that. There's a bunch of them. I like that. Very good. All right. Torrance says the N-word is a dumb word. Black people using it annoys me. Non-black people using it annoys me or turns me on depending upon the situation. I could see how it could turn you on in a specific situation. I think Chris Rock mentioned that, Torrance. Yes, absolutely. But no, I think I rarely use the word. Very rare. I don't want my daughters feeling like it's natural and they should use it. But there are times I do. I'm being focused. There are times I do. It's not like it doesn't come out of my mouth. It does. It's just rare. Very, very rare. Will I ever apologize for it? Never. Never. I get to use it if and when I want to. And Torrance, so do you. If and when you want to. I don't. I don't want to. I don't want to give it power. I don't want to do that stuff. So, no. Yes. Joe says actual Nazis actually kill people. Yes. That's correct. Yes, absolutely. Mike says, Larry Sharpe, the first real instance of public shaming or cancel culture I can recall is Tracy Morgan. Agree, or is there a previous instance you can recall? It's an un-American and disappointing feeling whenever a comedian apologizes for something they said was a joke or meant for entertainment value. What about Bill Maher? Bill Maher got it for 9/11. That was what, 30 years ago? Is that about right? 30 years? Is that about right? Yeah. Bill Maher, maybe. And if you go back further than him, I mean, guys like Lenny Bruce went to court. I mean, they were like sued and put in jail and stuff. So I don't know. I think it's been around, but it used to be the right that did it, not the left. Right? This is what makes Bill Maher angry, right? If you go back 30, 40 years, 50 years, the right was the one canceling. Now it's the left. So yeah, it's been a change. Absolutely. This is kind of funny. I like that. So, Sam, as governor, would you be open to requiring cameras in classrooms to increase transparency and allow parents to see what teachers are teaching? I'm not against the idea. I'm kind of against the requiring piece. I think you want to allow local school districts to kind of have more power and control, because once you start requiring, then it becomes state control, mandates. What are you going to buy? How are you going to buy it? I'm not sure I'd want to make that a state issue, but I'm not against it. I wouldn't stop a school district from doing it, but I don't think that that's appropriate for a governor to make that decision, if that makes any sense. I am not against, I wouldn't stop it, but I think it's up to the individual, places to do so, right? That's what I think. Yes. So, all right. No soundbites. Hey, Mike, how are you? Rogan, like Poole and you and I are the test on how to isolate and silence unapproved voices. If they shut us down, there is no other option easily found by public. Yes, like the Iran deal, crickets. I agree completely. Yes. Once you start doing that, yes, there's no one. You're right. Whatever they say becomes the thing. And as long as it's just two sides and only two sides, Mike, then everyone on CNN and MSNBC says, oh, you watch Fox, clearly you're a racist and you're a bad guy and you're irrelevant and you don't count. So they can easily do that. And the Fox can go, oh, you watch MSNBC, well, you're clearly a communist and you don't count. So each one can dismiss the other as a kook and they don't count. When you're not one of those two, right? When you are alternative media, when you're not one of those two, they can't just call you a kook and walk away. And they're trying to turn Joe Rogan into, he's a kook, it's stupid. I remember they were doing this. This is maybe 1992 or 3 or 4 in that area. Rush Limbaugh was becoming very popular in the early 90s. Some of you may remember, you older remember how he started becoming just hugely popular in the early 90s. And they wanted to put him on Armed Forces Radio in the military. There's 3-hour show, but they want to put the first hour on Armed Forces Radio at noon, wherever they were. They're going to put the first hour on. And people were mad. And people were happy. And people crying for it, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I think the thing that people didn't like about it is the only media we got, if you're overseas in the military, was basically whatever the government gave you. That's all you got. And having someone like a Rush Limbaugh on, not that I was a big Rush Limbaugh fan, but did give people an alternative that made people think, oh, so it's not just what the government gives us. And he was on for a while. I don't know if he still is, but he was on for a bit. And that was like that was the initial part of that was talk radio of doing that. It was a big deal. You were in the military and you weren't getting just government funded Stars and Stripes, news. You were getting something that wasn't that. And it was when I first heard, I was like, what is, oh my God, I didn't get it. I didn't get it because I didn't grow up with that. So I didn't get it. But anyway, that's it. There we go. So let me grab a couple more of these if I can. Let's see here. Ben says, I may not approve what someone says, but I 100% approve of their right to say it. I agree. Just don't do it. Yes. Don't watch it. Dan says, I remember well when Rush Limbaugh became popular. The problem is that when I discovered the band Rush, I got annoyed being misunderstood when I said I was a Rush fan. Oh, look at that. I remember the music, the intro music for Rush Limbaugh, for those of you who listen to him, was music from a band called The Pretenders. And the lead singer's name is Chrissy Hines. I know I should know that's kind of weird stuff, but she would get so mad when she would play the game and people go, Rush Limbaugh, because she hated Rush Limbaugh. But he had her theme music. I don't know how, would he buy it or whatever? Maybe it was free. I don't know what it was. But yeah, just thought it was kind of funny. Yes, you want to listen to Pretenders and people think you're a Rush Limbaugh fan. It's kind of funny. So yes, it is good. So, all righty. Ryan says homeschooling everywhere. I agree. I think that people should be able to homeschool if they want to. Why would you stop it? If you are in a position where you can homeschool and you want to homeschool, you should. That's up to you. I should not be the one who makes that decision. That should be on you, your family, your friends, what you decide in your community. That's really the issue, right? And we should not be stopping people from doing that. Yes. All right. So hold on one more if I can here. Shelly says we should all have a recording of crickets that we can play simultaneously outside of media outlets who hide the news. That's actually funny. So I like that. Guys, I want to ask again. I know I have been asked one more time. Please like, comment, and share. It does matter. Support my sponsors. Head over to libertarianism.com. Click that specific link. Take some of their cool tests. It's interesting stuff to look at, to read, to watch. Nice ideas. You can get some cool merch, t-shirts, hats, stuff like that if you want to. You don't have to pay for it. It's free. If you take the little test, you get points, you get it for free. Or if you want to buy it, please feel free. Whatever works for you. You can do that if you want to. And please share it on your social media as you share this. They are our sponsors. They help this show move forward. They help our team move forward. Please support them. It helps tremendously. And as always, like, comment, share. Guys, I'm going to let you guys all run. I will be on tomorrow on a free solution at noon tomorrow. I hope to see you guys then. I will see you all very soon.